Good evening, everybody. I'm up here, like Nicholas, to share my story and to share the story of others who've gone through something that we hope that we ourselves or our kids kids will never have to go through. So, just to introduce myself and give you my personal context, I'm a sophomore, Peace, War, and Defense major at UNC. I graduated Chapel Hill High School in 2013, where I ran cross country, I swam, and I sang in the Beau Brummels a cappella group, which we'll be performing later tonight. Last year, I started my first year at West Point, the U.S. Military Academy. I was pretty involved with our triathlon team and their version of admissions ambassadors. Then, things all changed pretty quickly when I got home for the summer. My little brother decided to beat my butt in a 5K open water swim, but when I got back home, finished the humiliating car ride back as he made fun of me for getting destroyed by somebody 4 years younger than me. I got in the shower, and let's just say there were 3 of something that there's usually 2 of when you're a guy. We'll just leave it at that for now. So a few hours later, or a few days later, I was diagnosed with pediatric rhabdomyosarcoma. Rhabdomyosarcoma is a relatively rare cancer. There's about 350 new diagnoses every year in the United States. I had surgery that week to remove the tumor itself, and within 2 weeks I had another major surgery to remove infected lymph nodes in the back of my abdominal cavity. So they had to take out everything inside my abdominal cavity to get there on the way, which I can tell you wasn't exactly the most fun. Then I started chemotherapy. I've had chemotherapy every Tuesday or every Wednesday every week since July. You're looking at me now standing up on stage, probably wondering, why does he have hair? The answer to that is I really don't know. It just started growing back. I'm not exactly complaining, but that's one of those fun things about chemo. You never know exactly what's going to happen. So I needed social support. I needed something to keep me going. And I got lucky enough to be able to enroll here at Carolina. The admissions department realized that not only was I going to need something, but hopefully I would be able to give back to this community while I was here for a year, going through treatment, recovering, and then hopefully going back to West Point. Throughout chemotherapy, I also had to get radiation for a month. There's a scare when the TSA scanners come out, the full body scanners. People didn't want to go through them. People still opt out for pat downs. Every single day I had radiation. I had the equivalent of 177 million TSA scans directed at my body over the course of several minutes. Made finals last semester really fun when I had to get extensions on most of my assignments, and they were all due within that last week because of radiation and chemotherapy. I'd been too tired to go to class or actually really finish anything, or kind of a little bit too lazy too, but that's another detail. So it was really fun when I had a period of 4 days with 3 final exams, 30 pages due that I had not started nor researched for, and also a final photography project due. And I guess for a lot of people that's kind of how finals go, but my excuse at least was that I was going through treatment. So this semester, I decided I was going to get more involved, as much as I could, before I left UNC, before I left Chapel Hill and went back to New York. And I had several very large players that inspired me to do so. When I started going through treatment, I heard about Sophie and her story, and I heard about being loud and what she embodied that to be. And I realized that I needed to do that myself. But I still didn't really get it. And it wasn't actually until Halloween I decided to dress up as a clown and go into the oncology clinic on that Friday. Just for fun, to hang out with some other kids, to kind of experiment with what Sophie inspired me to do. And I went for it. I had makeup on and everything. I met a bunch of different patients, 2 I'm going to talk about tonight, Emma and Brandon. So I'll start with Brandon. Brandon had just been diagnosed 2 weeks before. He still wasn't doing too well mentally, of course not physically. He had just started chemotherapy. He was out of things, and he definitely wasn't exactly positive by any means yet, but he was getting there. So after I was done handing out candy and just kind of messing around, I went up to his room and I got to speak to him for a while. Both of us were on some pretty fun medications that day, so my oxycodone kicked in and his Mirinol kicked in. It's THC in synthetic pill form. It's kind of fun sometimes. So we're both sitting there laughing, having fun, smiling. I'm thinking nothing of it. I mean, I'm sitting there in a clown suit. Of course people are going to laugh. I look like an idiot. So I go back. I mean, it's Friday night. and it's Halloween at UNC. That means Franklin Street. It was time to get ready for that. His mom caught me on the way out though, and she said, thank you very much. He hasn't been positive or smiled once since he had been diagnosed 2 weeks before. Again, I'm on painkillers and in a clown suit, so I'm thinking nothing of it at the time. And then of course I'm out on Franklin Street having fun later that night. I get a text message at 11 o'clock from his mom. It says, Brandon's having seizures, we're gonna go get him checked out. Apparently he's not reacting well to chemotherapy. Just thought we'd let you know, but things are still looking all right. All right, it's 11 o'clock, Friday night, Halloween on Franklin Street. I'm obviously not really focused on that. Fast forward to the next morning, I wake up, text message from his mom. Brandon has had a massive stroke, prognosis is grim. So I'm sitting there faced with the reality that, well, one of my friends had been admitted to the hospital for a stroke. I was out having fun. Of course, I rush in, not knowing exactly what to do, but to try to be there for his family by that point. And I was there for most of the next 2 days until they pulled the plug. When I was leaving, his older brother came up to me and he said, thank you for what you did when he was still here with us. And all I could think of was my younger siblings and exactly what it would have to be like for me to go up to somebody else and say the same thing if I lost one of them. And I couldn't deal with it. I'm sitting there coping, trying to figure out, why me? Why am I still here? Why isn't Brandon? So from there, I realized that every single one of us have opportunities every day. We have opportunities every day to make somebody smile and to make somebody happy. I was glad that I had had that opportunity with Brandon, and I definitely wanted to continue to do that with every single person I met. So I'm going to tie this in, steal something from David Brooks, he's a New York Times columnist, about your eulogy virtues versus your resume virtues. If you're in college, you're likely competing, trying to get good grades, and setting yourself up for a good job, good internship, doing whatever you need to do so you can leave college, be employed, not be living in mom and dad's basement and eating ramen for the rest of your life. So you're focusing on that resume. You really are focusing on that resume, those resume virtues. That's how you're trying to improve yourself every single day. But step back for a second and think about what you want people to be saying at your eulogy, what you want people to be saying when you're gone. They want you to talk about, you want them to talk about, how much they loved you, how much you loved everybody, how happy and positive you were for every single person you met. So, from there I'm just going to point out, take a minute, step back, and realize what really matters in front of you. Your family, your friends. Don't focus on that resume as much. And like usual, I procrastinated and didn't memorize this. So, a good way to get involved. Advocate for other young adults. There's issue with the young adult patient population going through specifically cancer treatment that are unique to them and very different from the pediatric side and the older adult side. For one, imagine that you're being pulled out of your transition from childhood to adulthood. You're in middle school, or in high school, and college. You're really trying to progress socially, academically, professionally, and get from that younger point in your life to the point where you're out there in the real world. And you get plucked out with a cancer diagnosis, and you're put in the hospital. If you're lucky, you live in Chapel Hill and you're going to Chapel Hill like me. If you're not so lucky, you're commuting 3 hours, you're staying in the hospital a long time, and none of your friends are nearby. There's proven higher levels of grief due to greater life disruption that many of these young adult patients feel as they're plucked out of this transition. There's 50 to 100 new young adult diagnoses every year at UNC alone. We have 18,500 undergrads here at UNC. There are so many people that could get more involved and support those patients as much as they can. So ways to connect the undergrad population and the population we have here at the hospital. Relay for Life. Thank you guys all for coming out here and doing an amazing thing. We have hospital volunteers. We have CPALs. You can get to know more of those patients individually. And you can be an individual volunteer with outside organizations like Be Loud and help remember those who have fought, those who are continuing to fight, and those we have lost. So I'm going to tell 2 more stories about friends. My friend Emma, I met the same day as Brandon. She was cancer-free in January, completely done, all happy as can be. Last week she relapsed. So I went in to spend time with her, expecting it to be a lot of me trying to pick her up and get her mind off things. I was very surprised. She was more positive this week when I was talking to her, than she had been the months I knew her going through treatment. And why? Because she realized she now had more of an opportunity to help other people. She was looking for more ways to get involved. She asked me right away, like, what can I do? I can't come to Relay this weekend. Can I help out with things after that? And this is someone who just got told, after going through a year of treatment, that she was likely going to have 2 more. Now I'm going to move on to my friend Taylor. Taylor I met a month ago, roughly. She's been in the hospital a month. Today marks the month mark. Lives several hours away, hasn't had many friends come visit her. It was unfortunate. I found out after I left, first time running into her, that when she talked to me, it was the first time she could remember talking to another boy her age in weeks and months. Last night she was transferred to the pediatric intensive care unit, and right now she's there fighting for her life as her lungs are failing her. So, my call to you, 18,500 people her age are within a mile every single day. There's no reason that she can't have friends stop by all the time. So I also ask you, please keep her in your thoughts and prayers tonight. Let's hope that she's getting back out of the hospital soon. All right, then my story. I'm making sure that I do all that I can to give back to the place that saved my life and to the community that's been here for me when I've needed it most this year. So I plan on getting back in shape, hopefully. We'll see how that goes. Going back to West Point in July and rejoining the Corps of Cadets. And then we'll see what happens. I don't know whether or not the military is going to keep me. Frankly, if I get kicked out and I end up back at UNC, it's not too bad. This place is pretty awesome. So when you're faced with uncertainty, learn a simple lesson, like I had to learn pretty quickly. You don't have to go out of your way to do it. Go back to what you want to be known for. Your resume virtues, your eulogy virtues. Do you want to be remembered for how much you cared about other people? And make a positive impact on every single person you interact with every single day. Enjoy the little things in life, and don't stress out about things that you can't control. Whether that be the upcoming test, it's gonna happen. No matter how much you study, that test is happening next week, guys, or the week after. Don't stress out about it. Do what you can do for the things that you can control, and do them as best as you can. And make sure to keep a smile on your face. So, as we've learned from Sophie, as I've learned from Sophie, and I've tried to embody it myself, as I learned from Brandon, as I learned from Emma, as I learned from Taylor, and as all of you have learned in some way from somebody that you love and you care about, make sure to enjoy the little things in your life and keep a smile on your face. And tonight we remember those we learned the lesson from as we celebrate, remember, and fight back. So, right now I'm going to start, and if everybody could join me, please, in a moment of silence to remember those who are no longer with us and honor those who are still battling today. Thank you. We remember our loved ones we lost to cancer. We honor and we are thankful for our survivors. By being here tonight, we are all doing our part to make sure that cures will be found. And there will be a day when we've conquered cancer and nobody else has to go through this ever again. So now, please join me in a lap of silence around the track as well, as we celebrate and remember those who have gone through this.
No, they're your cheese. So you can make it a lot better. Right? Now you want to make it.
Oh, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, they're
Of course,
going to want more. Right.